All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our awesome CE panel. Let's get back. And we have the wonderful Laney Gastis, who is going to be our moderator. Take it away.
Hello. Good morning, Peralta. It's so great to be here with you. My name is Laney Gastis. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Journalism Department Chair here at Laney College and the advisor to Peralta's only student-run publication, award-winning student-run publication, The Citizen. You might have heard of it. Woo, yeah. I also do many other things at the college and the district, but I'm also a proud CE faculty member. Many of you might not know journalism is a CE discipline. But today, you already heard that our plan was to highlight some of our exceptional CE programs district-wide. And I'm just really proud to call these folks my colleagues. You're going to get a little insight into the work that they do, how innovative they are, and really how much they take our students to the next level. What you might not know about CE disciplines compared to kind of traditional academic trajectories, CE disciplines are very closely tied to regional and local workforce. We are informed by the employers in the region. We have advisory boards. We're responding to the needs of California. And many of the students in these CE programs go on to enter the workforce after completion. So, up first, we're going to hear from Adam Balog, who is the machine technology instructor and department chair at Laney College. And he's actually going to bring out a prop, too, I think, if you guys are ready for it. All right, Adam.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? No? Yes. Testing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll bring out the prop in a moment. So, can I get my PowerPoint? Thank you very much. So yeah, my name is Adam Balog. I'm chair of the machine technology department here at Laney College. That is where we train machinists. A machinist is a skilled craftsperson who uses heavy stationary power tools basically to cut raw metal into precision objects that we use in our everyday lives, from automotive applications to satellites to cell phones to basically everything, okay? The reason I'm here today actually is to tell you the good news, the amazing news that we are now making and measuring in nanometers.
Ooh.
Oh, I actually got more of a reaction than I thought from that, because most people don't know what a nanometer is. It's very, very small. So let me try to give you a sense of how small that is, okay? So let's start with the International Standard Meter, okay? That's about the height of a 6 or 7 year old child. You take 1 meter and you split it into 1,000 parts. You got a millimeter. That's about the thickness of a credit card. You take that and you split it into 1,000 parts. Each one of those is a micrometer or a micron. Okay, and at this point, we're like outside of the realm that we can really intuit based on our everyday lived experience. It's approximately the size of a bacterium. But the way that I like to think about it is like, you know, when you're cutting up jalapeno peppers for Taco Tuesday, and no matter how many times you wash your hands, when you rub your eyes, it still burns. That's a micron, okay? That little film of capsaicin on your fingers, that's about a micron, okay? Take that and split that into 1,000 parts, and you have a nanometer, okay? At this point, it's impossible to intuit those kinds of sizes, but let me try my best here. One thing that we're all unfortunately familiar with over the last few years is the coronavirus. One coronavirus unit, one particle, is approximately 200 nanometers. So a nanometer is 1/200th of a coronavirus. Another way to think about it is that if you take 10 atoms, hydrogen atoms, iron atoms, whatever it is, they're approximately all the same scale. If you take 10 atoms and you line them up in a row side by side, that's a nanometer. So we are pushing, we're on the doorstep of the atomic scale. So you should be impressed. Industry is leading more and more in this direction, okay? And we need to prepare our students for this. But you might wonder, what could we possibly be making that requires this level of precision? Chancellor Gilkerson, I saw that in your vision board there was a telescope, so manifested right there. Okay. Can we go back to the slideshow, please? Thank you. This is our new student project. We have completely overhauled our curriculum. So that includes a new course, that includes a new project, that includes a whole new suite of instructional videos, as well as a home-built OER textbook. Okay? This is now what students are building throughout the entire course sequence of our program. Okay, so as they're earning their AS degree, they're also making parts for this, learning the skills that they need in this context, right? And then at the end of their program, when they graduate, they get this to take home. Each student makes one, and they can look at the planets, the moon, and they can also take this to job interviews, because this is a guaranteed job offer. Okay? Thank you. The thing that needs to be so precise on this are the three mirrors that make up the optical system here. Just to give you an example here, the big primary mirror, the big one, that has, it kind of looks like a donut. That one, the smoothness of the surface needs to be better than 5 nanometers, meaning that any bumps in the surface have to be less than 5 nanometers, okay, in order for this thing to be shiny, reflective. The shape also has to be very closely controlled. It turns out that this primary mirror here is shaped like a parabola, and that parabola needs to be controlled within 150 nanometers. So the difference between a good part that functions correctly and a bad part that goes into the trash can is less than a coronavirus. Whoa. Students are making this. And the unique part about this is how we make the mirrors. Okay, it's a machining method called diamond turning, which I'll mention in just a moment. I just want a huge shout out to our industry partners, without whom none of this would have been possible. Okay, we have a new course, Machine Tech 214, the Ultra Precision class, where students make these mirrors. We ran it for the first time this summer, going to run it again this upcoming summer. And all of these folks here have helped us develop curriculum, have donated equipment, and hire our students. And as you can imagine, getting into this level of precision requires an enormous investment in equipment. It's about $1 million of investment, but the cost to the department was about $60,000, spread out over 3 years of strong workforce program funding. So it was essentially a negligible hit to our finances to be able to get into this. Yeah. Those are deep relationships that take many years to develop, right? So what is diamond turning? Diamond turning is what happens when you take an ultra-precise metal cutting machine and you match it to a gem quality diamond, which has been sharpened to atomic sharpness. Now, but basically what you do is you drag that diamond tool across the surface of, let's say, a piece of aluminum. Wherever that diamond touches, it generates a perfect mirror surface. That's how we're making these. The reason that this technology is so revolutionary is because the way that you used to make optics is that you'd have to, like a mirror, for example, you take a big piece of glass, you have to grind it, you have to polish it, you have to evaporate a layer of aluminum onto the surface to make it reflective. That's like 40 hours of work, okay? This machine can cut the same surface 2 minutes. 2 minutes. This technology has been around since the 1980s, but it's becoming more prevalent now in industry because the technology is more sophisticated, the costs have come down, and industry needs this level of precision in increasing amounts. Some of the examples of things that are diamond turned in our everyday experience, if you wear contact lenses, those molds were diamond turned. If you wear glasses like mine that have plastic polycarbonate lenses, those were directly diamond turned. Okay, so you're probably wearing diamond turned stuff on your face right now. Other things like LiDAR systems for self-driving vehicles, that's all diamond turned optics for those. And if you've ever wondered, you're out in the early evening and you see like a string of dots, lights up in the sky that are going in a row, right? And you wonder for a second if that's a UFO, and then you look it up online and you find out, oh, those are Starlink satellites. That was just a launch. Every single one of those satellites that's bringing the internet to the world has a diamond-turned optic in it. Okay, so SpaceX is one of the main companies that just recently started courting us for students. The last thing I'll say here is that there's an old adage in manufacturing that you can't make what you can't measure, because you won't know when you've got it made. And nowhere is that more true than here. So just as important as the machine that cuts the part are the machines or the pieces of equipment here which measure the part to confirm that it meets the specs. So I'm not going to go through each one of these, but just to say that all of these are very expensive and very specialized. So as you can imagine, since we unveiled this project, enrollment, completion, and retention have increased dramatically. 30% is a kind of a round number that I'll put out there. We have a 100% placement rate just in the program in general, and this is certainly going to, I mean, can you go above 100%? We'll see. But so what we're trying to do here, right, is not just give industry what they currently need, but prepare students for what industry will need, right? Because in a field that changes so rapidly as ours does, you have to be ahead of the game, not just responding. So that's what we've done here. And so I'm out of time. What I would like is for to invite all of you to come and visit us in the machine shop in the bottom floor of the G building. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. Super cool. Up next, we are going to meet Kevin Martin, who is the director of the commercial music program at Laney College.
How do you follow up the nanometer? I don't know. Maybe with a house beat, some reggaeton, that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm commercial music director. We are a small but thriving program within the music program. John Rager, very happy to see you here. There you go. Commercial music. What is commercial music? It's almost everything. These days, it encompasses all music. Anything that's sold, so you're talking about even classical jazz, everything is this big encompassing sort of area. We are concentrating more in at least the 4 classes that we have in our program. Please change the slide there. Thank you, Alejandro. Okay, so we have 2 degrees, music industry AA and a music industry certificate of achievement. So this gives us a chance to, you can invest yourself as much as you want. You can go for the gold with the AA, or you can sort of step back and just say, I want to just experiment and get into some sorts of music and just see what that's all about. And the 4 classes that we have in this program, MIDI and electronic music, which is what it sounds like. And then we have, what else we have? Go ahead, Alejandro. We have a songwriting class, which is, this is particularly, it's online in Zoom this semester. Sometimes it's not. But that particular one, it fills up really quickly, and it's nice because we have people from all over the United States and the world that give a chance to sort of meet Laney at the Zoom level, which is really great. And then we have a live sound class taught by Franklin Miller. I don't know if he's out there today. We teach that in the theater here, which gives you lots of background. How do you set up a PA system? All the tech things that you're encountering here can be part of that class too. So if you just want to set up a small sound system, or if you want to go and be part of the Stern Grove Festival, whatever whatever your aspirations might be, we're going to try to set you up for that. And then we have a music business class taught by Darcy Olson, who is a copyright lawyer with an extensive background. And I can't say enough about that class. It's online asynchronous. It is about DBAs and all kinds of contracts. What is copyright? What is trademark? All those sorts of things. So it gets really deep into that. The 2 that I'm teaching at this point are the MIDI and electronic music class and the songwriting course, which I definitely enjoy, and I think the students enjoy for sure. Alejandro, thank you. Okay, so it's in person. The course materials that we have are all ZTC, zero textbook, and we also use OER resources. We're heavily into that. And that just gives us a chance. It gives everybody a chance to not have to go out and buy super extensive and expensive textbooks, but they still get all the information. There's lots of, it's an ever-changing industry, and there's a lots of everything from introduction to AI and songwriting. There's lovers and haters of AI, of course. Some people are saying, "Oh my gosh, it's taking away my job," but it's also creating so many other new jobs within that realm. Has anybody used AI out there for songwriting? Ever tried it? Yay! So it's to that point now where you're typing in prompts. It sort of levels the playing field in a way that you don't have to play an instrument to necessarily write a song. So if you have, we have lots of poet people coming in that just have lyrics and don't have an extensive background in music theory or don't have background in music performance things. I'm trying to promote it, but not. I don't love AI yet, but I respect it, and it's a very, very interesting area. I have used it to create a female emo band. I've used it to create a country, like a hard, midnight country rock sort of band. So it's interesting to type in prompts like a hard country, male vocal, low range octave vocals. I want to, keep the chords. Maybe I want to keep this in the very commercial area where I'm using the 1, the 4, and the 5 chord without going into too much music theory. That encompasses the commercial music world, although it's a little generalizing here, but that's probably over 90% of the tunes that are living in the 1, 4, 5 chord progression. So you can type in, I want to do something in 1, 4, 5 chord progression. AI takes all that information, spits out a song. You say, give me 10 demos of this song. It spits them out in less than 2 minutes. So it really gives you a chance to up your game if that's how you want to play it. And then in order to copyright, there's a copyright thing with like Suno and Udio and some of these online AI resources. You wind up with, they own your copyright unless you're going to pay for their service, right? So that's a little iffy, questionable. So be careful about that. Okay. And we have for myself, I do an extensive, robust Canvas setup for everybody in the classes. So you come into the F170D lab and you create electronic music in the lab, and maybe you don't have enough time it's a 3-hour class, so you might not have enough time to bring your song to fruition, but you have lots of help in Canvas, and you have all the rest of the week to keep working on that. We provide Logic, Apple Logic Pro software in the in the lab itself, and it's a very open lab, so you have lots of chances to get back in there on the off hours. So just in monetary, the worth of the class, it's definitely worth your time to come in, take the class for the cost of a Laney class, and have access to all the software that you'll need to create songs. Okay. We dig into like properties of sound. I won't get into too many topics here. Properties of sound. What is synthesis? What is a synthesizer? How does that work? How additive and creative and subtractive synthesis sorts of things. We deal with those. And I know this is a little bit, you guys are ready for lunch, right? Who's ready for lunch? Lunch. Okay. And then we try to incorporate writing into the class, where you do an electronic genre report. So maybe you want to go back and investigate house beats and really any genre you like to. Alejandro, go ahead. The music genre report, you can even go forward from that one. One more. There's this thing called, Spotify. Everybody has sort of done some Spotifying here and there. So you can look up Spotify playlists and find genres that you have never encountered before. And go ahead, one more. This is just a little tiny smattering of all the available electronic music genres that are out there. You can see that it's called ishker.com. It is from the 1920s, which we're talking about pre-synthesized things, cutting tape, like manually cutting tape, creating your songs that way, using synthesized sounds. and then moving up into house beats and reggaeton and all the things that are listed here, tech house, progressive. There's thousands and thousands and thousands. You can, if you want to create a new genre, you speed it up, speed the tempo of your song up by one beat, and you rename it. So there's so many genres out there that it's incredible. It's just incredible what's available out there. Okay, next please. And we talk about, like I said, an intro-to-synthesis, so overtone series. We do bring in musical aspects. So it's important to know that you can also take musical classes in John's department if you want to, maybe you want to learn how to play piano, or you want to learn how to understand music theory, okay, and all those sorts of things. Okay, we want to go ahead and move on. We're going to do this quick. And then you listen to your classmates, of course, and support them. I put up MP3 players and MP4 players, and at the end we do deal with video, so we kind of embrace Marla's department too. And that's all I have to say about that because I'm out of time. Anybody have questions? Please, we'll deal with them. Yay! Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll have some time for Q&A in just a little bit. But up next, we are going to travel up the hill to Merritt College, where we're going to learn from Feather Ives, who is the bioscience faculty and histotechnician, it's a mouthful, program coordinator. Go ahead.
No. Oh, yeah. Thanks for coordinating this. I am feeling very emotional today. So if I cry because of some of the stories I tell, then I'm sorry. And I'm not well, so I'm going to stay seated. So, do I have this? Is it up? No, I see me. Okay. So doing more with less, incorporating other employable skills into the histotechnician training program. So just so you know, being a histotech, we train people to process biopsy tissue. When you get a biopsy or someone you love gets a biopsy, tissue or cells are removed, they are stained, they are imaged, and then a pathologist makes a diagnosis. Our students who are histotechs work in industry, nonprofits, and do stuff like that. That's the job. We don't see that person in the hospital, but that's the job, one of the laboratory jobs in the background. Just getting that out of the way for those who didn't know what a histo was. Okay, so about the bioscience department, our core training is in light microscopy. So I'm super impressed with all that nanometer talk and optics this morning, as you know, Adam. Histotechnology, genomics, techniques and theory, and data science. Students go on to work in industry, academia, nonprofits, U.S. government agencies, and healthcare settings. And many of our students, like all of yours, come to us with an AS or no degree, MBS in biology, but no skills and no career coaching. I left this slide in because it's super important to me. The vast majority, we have a lot of students who are over 25 and many students who are over 35 who come to us with a lot of life experience, careers, and skills that we need to find some way to incorporate into the new career that they're on. They're coming to us looking for hope. Our department is very hopeful. We're like, if you wanted to be in science since you were 5, but you got sidetracked, come to us now. We'll help you get on that pathway. That was me. I was 38 when I entered this program 10 years ago. No, 37 when I entered the program 10 years ago. And I got back on the path that I wanted to be on since I was a teenager. So that's why we get a lot of people who are over a certain age, because there's a lot of hope there. Yay. Okay. These are our employers, such an important slide because they are our partners. They make up our, what's the meeting we have to have every year? Advisory committee meeting, thank you, advisory board. They are who we have to have a good reputation for so that when our students have merit on their resume and it crosses these employers' desks or their automated systems, however they're hiring people, merit will stand out and our students will get an interview. And plus we have this great network, right? So we've spent years building this network. It started before me. I've been in the department now for 9 years, but it's been going on for 20 years now. Okay. So this is I wanted to do a plug for the Career Education newsletter that started in December. I just plucked out two of the stories here for this presentation.
because these women came to us, they didn't have degrees, and they, like both of them, you know, sometimes we have to really handhold our students. And then sometimes students just come in and they create this like vision and this like thing that they're just like, I'm gonna do this, right? And I'm like, you're gonna go work for NASA? Oh my gosh, good for you. And that's Erin, right? And the story about Erin, which is really this one that's emotional too, she was my scoop driver. She picked me up one morning so that we could go into the city so I could go to my internship when I'm a graduate of these programs, by the way. Oh, I think I said that. She picked me up to take me to Gladstone so I could go to work. And her wife was in nursing school. And I was like, well, if that doesn't work out, I have this histotechnician program. And we were talking about it. She enrolled the next semester. This was 2017, I think. And now she's crafting this life at Skyline, doing their biotech program. She got a full-time job at NASA, working on microscopes that'll go to Saturn and Jupiter. And it's just very, very exciting. And then Anna, she and her husband completed the programs together. Luis is now at UC Berkeley. He took over my job that I left to become full-time. And Anna lives across the street from Zeiss, the facility they have down in Dublin. And after a tour that we took, you know, our president on, our VPs and students and everybody on, she went and convinced them to hire her to make optics for, you know, something. And now she's working on semiconductors. It's not something we trained her on. And without her degree and working on, I think she just had her AS in health sciences, she convinced them to hire her to do this. So one of the big things that we're doing is convincing a lot of employers who have historically required a BS or even an MS or even a PhD that these jobs can be done by people who have training and want to be trained on the job. They're very capable, right? And so Anna's been there 2 years, and now, if you read the newsletter, she's working on her data science degree at St. Mary's. So the big point of all this is, so what's new? So I am a public health practitioner, and what I know is that a lot of students come to us, again, with that hope and wanting to do, you know, work in a lab, but then they get there like I did and go, I don't really want to do this, but it still, you know, comes with a ton of knowledge. So what can I do to give them other career options that I build into my curriculum that they can go, okay, I can use all this that you're teaching me and actually go do this or that and that. And some of those 4 areas, if you're familiar with ONET, the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, these are all bright outlook areas, and they're public health and health navigation, great for jobs in hospitals and nonprofits. Okay, patient, health navigator, hospital, nonprofit, entrepreneurial, project management, leadership. They're all projected for fast growth between 2023 and 2020, you know, those years, and they pay at least $35 an hour. Okay, I'm gonna speed through this. So here's one project. I did this with the CCC OER, created an open for anti-racism course, project though, sorry. I got 1 minute warning, so I'm now getting nervous. Basically, I started training students who were learning about histotech, about anti-racism. So as you know, we are in healthcare. There's a lot of racism in healthcare. And I train students to go into jobs that pay $40, $50 an hour. And that's because they're dealing with people who have health issues and diseases. Didn't quite sit right with me that we were celebrating that necessarily when it's because people are sick, right? And there are reasons that people are sick. So I wanted to start training them on, you know, these different areas of public health: inequities, racism and unconscious bias, epidemiology, social determinants of health, public health goals regard to racism in healthcare, and the negative history of public health in healthcare, you know, Tuskegee and projects like that. I'm almost done. So basically they do a mini lit review, and we go through and we, you know, look at all sorts of different disparities in healthcare, breaking it down by race. And I take feedback from students and other people. What am I missing? Who didn't I include? What do you want to see? Things like that. And basically then they go through and then they work on a project in a team, and they take their histotechnician training where they learn the tissue, the diseases, risk factors, protective factors, treatment screening, and all that. And they make these projects that incorporate the pathology with the public health. And now we have a public health pathway for these students. They have health education pathways, patient health navigator pathways, and boom, they don't have to just go work in a laboratory. They have all these other job options now because of just this little project, okay? Now they're gonna do a little bit more, but you know, anyway. I think that's it. So if you need anything, you can email.
Thank you so much, Feather. We're going to stay at Merritt College for a little bit, and we're going to move next to Elizabeth Bogle and Greg Vose, who are the co-directors of Merritt's Natural History and Sustainability Program.
Hi, thanks for having us here today. This has been really fun for us to hear about all these different programs, and we're very excited about our own program. Let me put our logo up on the screen. Our logo was done by a student, by the way. We're really excited about our own program, and we're hoping to get you very excited about it too.
Hi, I'm Greg Vose. I teach, I'm one of the co-directors at the Natural History and Sustainability Program, and I also teach the biology and ecology-focused courses.
And I'm Elizabeth Bogle. I teach anything having to do with food systems, food access, justice, farming, all of our urban agroecology classes, and some career classes.
So Elizabeth and I took over this position, these co-director positions in the fall, and since then it's been quite harried. But we've done a lot. We've been sort of re-examining our programs, tweaking things here and there as we see fit. One of the things we've looked at has stayed mostly the same, but we've tweaked a little bit, is our mission statement, and we thought we'd start with that, so that hopefully you can you sort of see this in our presentation and see how hard we work to make this a reality. Our mission is the mission of the Natural History and Sustainability Program is to provide locally focused interdisciplinary preparation for employment in the growing environmental industry. Preparation includes theoretical knowledge, practical skills, networking with industry partners, hands-on training and job experience, and the opportunity to join a community of solution-focused environmental practitioners.
Merritt's always had an environmental education program. It started in the late 70s when they built this environmental center that you can see here as an example of what a tract home could look like if it was ecologically built. And the program was really robust through the 80s and 90s, and then it kind of declined and went away. And then in 2018, you probably know, many of you, Brad Baluchian, brought it back and sort of rebranded it as the Natural History and Sustainability Program. Then COVID hit. So we feel that we're still very much a new program. We're still growing. There's a lot of buzz about our program. Our social media account, which is run by students, grew over 800% just this past year. And our enrollment is growing, and it keeps growing, and that is reflected this spring as well.
So one of the inspirations for this program, or starting this program, was the acknowledgement that there's a growing need for environmental solutions, as we have the challenges that we face with respect to the environment are broad and multifaceted, as are the jobs in those fields and the skills that are required for those jobs. And so to create a comprehensive base of knowledge, we have 3 certificates that we offer: the Conservation Resource Management Certificate, the Natural History and Resources Certificate, and the Urban Agroecology Certificate. The Conservation Resource Management Certificate is one that focuses on ecological land management practices and prepares folks to be park operators or land managers or environmental consultants. The Natural History and Resources Certificate is one that takes an ecological framework to look at local organisms and local ecosystems and understand how human systems are interacting with those. This is a certificate that trains people to become educators, interpreters, and biological resource surveyors. And then the last one is the Urban Agroecology Certificate, which focuses on agriculture in the cities and sort of its proximity, close or adjacent areas. And this uses an ecological and justice-minded approach to agriculture and to feeding people. Ecological in that it explores the interactions between agriculture and natural systems. And then justice-minded in that it works towards sustainable food systems that feed everyone.
Okay, next slide, please. Great. Oh, here we go. We work really hard to make new connections. Oh, actually, we need to go back here. We work really hard to make new connections with Bay Area industry leaders, and we continue to nurture the ones that we have. These organizations that you see here are all part of our advisory board, just like we all have, and they represent all 3 of our certificate paths. And of course, we meet with them once a year. We just did this past Tuesday night. But they also are frequent visitors to our classes. They give us guest lectures, they lead field trips, they make themselves available for mentorship to our students. And as an example, this coming semester, I'm really excited. Colleen Hotchkiss from the Alameda County RCD is coming to teach us how to do a professional soil testing in our Merritt garden. So that's going to be super fun.
So one of the ways that we prepare students for careers in environmental fields is through our internship class. This class focuses on partnerships with industry, and I'm sorry, I'm like blanking here. And these internships are curated. And so they're not just sort of the coffee and copies type internships that a lot of people know about or think about when they think of internships. But these are real internships that put students on real projects that have real consequence. Students that have been placed with people like East Bay Regional Parks District, Environmental Science Associates, which is a local consulting firm, the Nature Conservancy, the City of Oakland, OUSD, and the list goes on. And projects that they've worked on are just massively impressive. We had a student this past semester work on a stormwater runoff hazard for East Bay Regional Parks District's service yards. So looking at where runoff from their service yards, if it's impacting local waterways, and surveying their 75 service yards. We also had somebody work in a mobile farmers market that services communities that are underserved in Richmond. And we also had a student design a native plant garden and execute and install that native plant garden.
So you may by now have sensed that community is a big part of what we do in the NHS. And further evidence of that is the 3 student-created, student-led clubs that are associated with our program. So we have the Garden Club. They do all kinds of interesting things at the Environmental Center Farm and Garden. They remove invasive plants, they weed, they harvest extra produce and take it to our soul food pantry on campus. The Sustainability Club has been working very closely with Merritt and with the Honor Society, and they're trying to align our garbage, sorting, compost goals with the new state law. And the Hiking Club meets once a month to hike in our local open spaces, and they explore all the native plants and insects and animals. We're really proud of our community spirit. We're really proud of the strong bonded connections that our students make with each other. They're their own best cheerleaders, that cohort.
Yeah, we are just immensely proud of our program. It's interdisciplinary and comprehensive. And yeah, thank you for letting us share it with you today, and hope that you'll reach out to us.
Come visit us in the garden.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Greg. Okay, so I see Matthew Goldstein over there. Always calls it the island. So now we're going to trek over to the island. We're going to go to COA, and we are going to hear from OJ Roundtree, who is, and a little commotion, please, for the blazer. Can we get a little commotion? This is the Apparel Design and Merchandising Program.
Good morning. I'm bringing teddy bears to you this morning. Good morning to all. Special thank you to Marla and her staff for organizing this portion of Peralta Flex Day and allowing us to share our program with you this morning. The Apparel Design and Merchandising Program at the College of Alameda, aka ADAM, originally started as a trade school at Laney College. ADAM relocated to its current campus in the early 1970s and has gone through many transformations to reflect its status as one of the premier fashion design programs in the state. The ADAM program educational mission is as follows. The ADAM Design and Merchandising Program teaches current fashion industry skills designed to meet vocational training requirements for entry-level employment and career advancements within areas of apparel design and production. The ADAM program offers a 2-year certificate of completion and/or AA degrees in fashion design and merchandising. Adam has an enriched, balanced curriculum that rotates on a 2-year cycle. The schedule is revised when needed and is provided to students upon entry of the program. The schedule is a stable planning tool for our students as well as instructors and counselors. In addition to the program schedule, students are provided with a 2-year Adam educational expenses schedule. This is an estimate of Adam tools, supplies, and books for the 2 years minus their college tuitions and fees. In comparison, for the 2-year program, it costs about $10,000 compared with private schools, which runs about $100,000. It says a semester, but it's actually a year. So that's a huge difference. Over 15 years in planning, and we're very proud to say we're now finally moved into our new location in the Liberal Arts Building post-pandemic. This was a struggle, but we're so proud to be in that new building now. As you can see here, within the new move, Adam classrooms provided with new state-of-the-art furnishings and equipment. You see here in the slide our 2 major classrooms. We got a new computer lab and also a state-of-the-art construction rooms. So we're real happy to have that. Also, with the move, we got a huge display window, which allows us to showcase our students' work and also to advertise the program itself. Here you can see some of the students' work displayed in the display window. Additionally, innovative software programs and advanced equipment were provided for the Adam Computer Lab, making the program more competitive and desirable as a design school of choice. Some of that software included Gerber software, which is some of the software that Levi Strauss uses, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and a new 3D program for design, which is called Clo 3D. Adam is actively involved in dual enrollment, which increases not only its enrollment, but it involves its enrollment with the high schools. And you can see there are several high schools that we're involved with as far as dual enrollment is concerned. Additionally, Adam has participated and formed innovative partnerships with its own COA Fab Lab. We did a project with Laney Cosmetology program, also with Laney Photography Video program a few years back, as well as the culinary program. We partnership with Levi Strauss, The Gap, Banana Republic, just to name a few. Adam encourages all aspects of diversity through its students, instructors, equipment, and curriculum. As we all know, when the pandemic crisis hit, it was difficult. It was a difficult transition for us all, especially the CE programs and those of you that have lab-type hand-on instruction. Excuse me. One of the ways Adam was able to survive was by adapting its tools and equipment to meet the Zoom classroom at-home environment. Adam's students were provided with loaner home sewing machines and half-scale body forms compared to their full-size forms and industrial machines used in the classroom as shown in this particular slide. Here you can see the comparison of those assignments in full-size version versus the half-scale size in the picture on the left. The picture on the right is showing a graduating student's final collection in half-scale form that normally would have been presented in full scale on a live model in our annual fashion show. And I might say that was sort of a challenge. It was like working on Barbie doll clothes, but it's sort of a challenge, but they got it done. So this was a new innovative project that I just completed this fall term. if any of you are familiar with Project Runway, while I've been watching the TV show Project Runway last summer, it gave me the inspiration for a fresh spin on my advanced design course, thus the creation of what I called Adam Project Catwalk, a version of the famous TV show, but in my curriculum format. So, all the things that designers do on Project Runway, our Adam students did as well in several assignment projects over the fall semester. They went fabric shopping with a budget provided through our division. Thank you very much. Students worked on their designs and did model fittings under the mentorship of Adam TAs and myself. I was Tim Gunn. They had model and hair makeup done by the Laney Cosmetology program. Thank you for that. And lastly, designs were critiqued by a panel of fashion experts, and we sort of had our own Heidi Klum there. And here you see sort of that production of that fashion show. We held it in the atrium of the new H building, the Liberal Arts building. And yes, you are seeing some familiar faces there. Peralta's Chancellor, Dr. Gilkerson. You can spot her there leaning forward there. She was very excited. At the time, it was COA's interim vice president of instructor, Dr. Jennings. You can kind of see her peeking through there. And yes, district academic president Matthew Goldstein is somewhere in there, if you can see him peeking there. And I might say he was very excited. He asked me a few days, what do I wear? And so there were other people there. I think our president was there too. So we were very pleased to have them in the audience. And lastly, these were the winning designs of that first catwalk we had there, and we were so proud of our students. So I thank you very much for letting me present the Adam program, and I want all of you to stop by at any time and see our wonderful program. So thank you very much.
All right. Absolutely fantastic, OJ. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So up next, we're going to move to Miguel Vega, who is the maker faculty at COA.
Good morning. There's a lot of people in here. Okay. Would you put the slide on, please? Cool, sweet. So my name is Miguel Vega. I'm part-time faculty at the College of Alameda Fab Lab, and I'm gonna really quickly just show you some stuff that we've been doing and stuff like that, right? Okay, cool. So really fast, we're gonna go through the Fab Lab background, our courses, some projects we've been doing, along with what's next for us, you know? So to give you an idea of what we are, our mission statement is that we empower our community to solve or to develop solutions through design and technology. We started in 2018, spring 2018, and I transitioned to part-time faculty in spring 2024 to lead our courses. Throughout that time, we've had over 700 users with spending around 3,500 plus hours in the lab. And so a question I get a lot is what do you do? And so what I tend to do, and really a quick snippet is I show students how to make stuff with traditional and digital fabrication tools. And next question is what's digital fabrication, right? And so really at a high level, my definition is we use software programs or applications in order to control machine hardware to make physical objects. Right? Technically, you have a Word program, or a Word document, you print it out on a printer, you make a piece of paper. That's kind of digital fabrication, right? We just have different tools. Now, there's some goals or benefits that I want to sort of share and enforce in the lab, and one is to have project-based learning. So we have a number of different machines that students can learn how to use, and I want them to learn how to safely operate it, and then as quickly as possible, get them operating that machine. Because once they start making, they start making mistakes, and they start freaking out. They're oh my God, it's gotta be perfect, right? And I'm no, nothing's perfect, you just do it. And I let them make mistakes, small mistakes, because they'll learn from that a lot faster than me just It's like, no, 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 please don't do that. So I'll let them like run into stuff, and then they're like, oh my God, like what do I do? And they're freaking out, and they get to like understand that sort of grit and that problem solving and that like that desire to understand that like you won't ever know everything, but you just got to keep going and ask people around you for that help, right? We also want to stress democratic access to machines. There are machines at the COA Fab Lab and the Laney Fab Lab that so many students don't have access to in like the United States, right? And so offering them that ability to give them the skills that industry needs is really special. Going further than that, we want to augment existing curriculum. So faculty members, if you have a project and you're just like not really sure how to make it, or just send me an email, right? Let's talk. The last thing that I really want to stress is that I want to try and improve digital literacy. There are students I have who are really, really good at using their phones, but they've never touched a mouse before. They've never been in a Windows operating system like a computer before. So they're like, oh wait, did I do that? I think I did that. Okay, so they're like, what's a mouse? And like right click, like this is lame, like what is this? And so like through something as innocuous as like, hey, you wanna make a sticker? Well, we get to start delving into topics like file organization, file hierarchies, how to attach things to a PDF, interfacing with like really good software and really, really like bad software, right? And so arming these students with like very base level knowledge that impacts and is like directly tied to industries like well beyond CE, right? So who's done this? Who's saved their files like this, right? New final. I see some of you. Who's done it? I've done it. I'll admit it. I'm not, you know, I got past this. If you're doing this, please send me an email. Like, we gotta talk, right? Okay, now, so how are we like enabling those goals, right? Currently, we're doing it through our modern making non-credit courses. What's rad about these is that they're non-credit, so they're free for students to take. Doesn't affect their course load. On top of that, they're open entry, open exit. So students can come in whenever we're open, sign in, work on stuff, get confused, make stuff, break stuff, make stuff, sign out. And then, you know, at the end of the semester, we check for positive attendance, see what they've made. Everything's good to go. We have a 501 lab course they can go in, along with 7 ABC certificates of completion that are machine dependent. So like if you want to work on 3D printers, there's a 3D printer cert. If you want to work on like a desktop cutter, there's one for that as well. It's broken into A, B, C. A is for safety, that's priority. B is the design of something, C is the production of that thing. They are also CDCP, Career Development College Prep. So the college gets full apportionment from the state, which is great. And as of today, we've had 150 students enroll since March of 2024, which is really cool. Like, it's great. I love it. Okay, so like, what are they making, right? So on the, I'm gonna try this laser thing. Okay, over there. So that is Hannah on the right. Hannah's a fantastic student over at Laney and at COA. She's sitting on a bench that she built on a CNC mill in our lab for a women's center, which is really cool. To her left is Sue, and Sue made these like really cute, adorable, small, and like a small batch production run of these air fresheners for a church event. It's a Rainbow Bridge event, which celebrates the passing of pets who've like, you know, gone to a better place in that year. So it's just like really sweet. There's also like an entrepreneurial aspect to the lab as well. This is Hannah, an Adam student. She's a machine. It is incredible. So on the left, she goes into the lab and she transfers images onto fabric. And that night, she's sewing and makes it a garment. And the next day, it's either on her website or it's on its way to a boutique in the Bay Area. Some serious money is being made here. The current record for a student project is like, they've made over $400 an hour. They're like 22. It's cool. It's rad, right? Okay, now thinking about, you know, our fiscal concerns, we've done some campus projects. Maybe, just maybe, we can have our student workers work on those things and bring some stuff in-house that may have to go, elsewhere. Just a thought, more to come there. Okay, for faculty. If you want to work on a project, we've worked with like business, Adam, we've worked with dental, history, English, math, tons of departments. This is for dental, it's an 18-piece 3D printed skull so that students get to understand like, the skull, basically, right? Over here, there's, for aviation, we had a propeller project. And students were like, this is boring. We don't care, propeller, whatever, dude, right? And so I thought about, well, what if we had students design their own propellers? They get to choose, a number of different parameters. Then we'll print them, put them on a test stand, and have them compare their designs to, every other design there. And instantly went from this thing that's like, whatever, dude, to like, oh, mine's better than yours because of like X, Y, Z. And it becomes this engaging tool that, turns something that could be potentially like really dry to something that's incredibly fun. Okay, so what's next for us? Super quickly, we need to funnel more students into those ABC certificates, right? Yes. We also need to add more courses. There's 4 credit courses on the way, which is really cool. And another thing, self-sufficiency. We've made money in the past with projects. We want to go back to that and add to our funding sources. Okay, so now, if you got a project, if you want to make something, you just want to send me an email, say hi. That's me, that's my name, that's my email. If you want, you can scan that QR code and, it should open up your mail client. My email should be populated. Send me something. I don't know, just say hi. I don't know, whatever. I gotta go. Bye.
Thank you so much, Miguel. Up next, we're going to move to BCC, where we're going to hear from Barbara DeRochers, who is the director of the biotechnology program.
Can we get the slide up? Oops. Can you hear me? The biotechnology program at Berkeley City College offers an AS degree and 2 certificates, and all of the courses in the program are transferable for credit to the UC and CSU system. I've listed a bunch of the courses that we offer. Most of them have very strong laboratory components to them. And I just want to say parenthetically that we do create our own lab manuals, so they come free to the students. It saves a lot of money. The emphasis is on developing concepts, understanding concepts, and developing good laboratory skills. And you're looking at a picture here of students working in learning how to do tissue culture. Tissue culture, everything has to be sterile. So you see that they're all gowned up, and you see that they're working in these laminar flow hoods where the air is sterile on the inside. So along with taking the classes, we'd like to give our students the opportunity to gain real-world experience in research labs, and that's so critical for lots of reasons. And we put students in a lot of internships, but I wanted to talk about one that's special to Berkeley City College. It is funded by the California Institute of Regenerative Medicine, known as CIRM. And CIRM has its origins back in 2004 with the passage of Proposition 71 that supported funding stem cell and gene therapy research in the state of California. And then within about 6 years, they put together what they call their Bridges trainee grants. And they're dedicated to increasing diversity, which is so critical. And to do that, they awarded the grants to 4-year state universities and community colleges. And we were one of them. And then they just recently went back a few years ago to renew the sport. Excuse me. The beneficiaries of this type of research are anybody, excuse me. So this is, when you think stem cell and gene therapy, this is a very broad area of medical and scientific research, a very critical one now. And there's kind of 2 camps. There's basic research, and then there's translational research. And in basic research, it's centered around those stem cells. And the stem cells, a stem cell gives rise to other cells. And the easiest way to think about this is in your bone marrow, you have stem cells that give rise to all the cells in your blood. So the idea here is to understand how do they do that, and can they be used therapeutically? And if something goes wrong with the stem cell, and I'll use sickle cell anemia as a result, as an example, if there's an error within the stem cells, can it be corrected with today's molecular tools? Can it be cut out, the faulty gene be cut out and replaced? And then, so that's the basic end. And then on the translational research is really involved in designing and evaluating therapies for the clinic. This is so who's the beneficiary? Well, anybody with blood disorders, people who have suffered spinal cord injuries, people who have diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, heart disease. This is a really short list. And I put it up here because the students are going to go into research labs, and these are the areas that they're going to be working on. So how does this work for us? The internships with the CERM internships are 10-month, and they're paid. And these are our host institutions. And so right now, the institutions are letting us know if they have labs that are interested in hosting an intern for the coming year. And what happens, we compile the list, we share it with our students who are going to be the interns. They have to decide which labs interest them. They go for a few interviews. It takes a little while. And then starting in the fall, they get launched into they get onboarded into their new institution and into their new lab, and start their research. Now, they have to do a small independent research themselves, but of course they've given a lot of guidance, and we meet with them on a regular basis throughout the year. And then after 10 months, it's time to tell the story of what they did, and did they discover anything? And in the world of science, that means putting together a scientific poster. This is quite an effort. And then after you've got your scientific poster put together, you then go to a scientific meeting, and CERM hosts one. Last fall, they hosted one at USC, and all these students went down with their posters. You are assigned a poster session. You stand next to your poster, and people come by and ask you questions, and of course, you hope to heck that you can answer the question. It's pretty scary stuff, and at the end of the meeting, everybody celebrates. This is our group over here. I wanted to give a shout out to Erica Ye. Dr. Ye is standing next to me. She's my colleague, and she teaches a lot of our classes. This last year, our students had the opportunity to go to a second conference, and they went to SACNAS in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, not all of them, just a few of them went. A couple of them got actually travel scholarships. Now, SACNAS is the largest multicultural and multidisciplinary STEM conference in the United States. And you can see the large number of participants. Anybody can go. You don't have to have a poster. So first-year students go, people getting PhDs go. Importantly, people who've just finished their educational programs go, and they're looking for a job. And to help them look for a job, there are vendors, over 500 vendors representing all the industry, academia, federal labs like NASA, NIH are there, and military. So there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of networking, and there's a lot of job interviews. And in fact, a couple of our students actually ended up with 2 job interviews, which is really good. It's very good. Just to give you an idea, this is a summary of that. We've had 2 CERM awards now, and this is a look at the first group. Where did they go? Well, all of the students can get jobs, and about over half of them will be laboratory technicians. We keep track of the students, by the way. We know where they're going, and they're always asking for reference, so we can keep track of them. And about half go into industry, and the other into industry or academic labs. And these labs very much are overlap in this field of biotechnology. In fact, many of the students will start in the lab where they interned, and so they will have their first jobs there. A third will go on to graduate school or professional schools, and the rest will go ahead and complete what they're doing at Berkeley City College, transfer into a 4-year school, and complete that program. I just wanted to highlight, just give you an example of a couple of students. This is Wanjiru Kamau Devers. She graduated a few years ago. She's presently in an MD PhD program at the University of Arizona. And she told me yesterday she has just a couple of years to go. She's working, you can see her research, prenatal opioid exposure, the effect on neonatal and childhood respiratory development. You can see the relation to the stem cells that give rise to all the other cells, right? And then finally, I have to say a shout out to Willard Cheng, was our lab tech at Berkeley City College. He went to San Francisco State and completed their program in clinical lab science. And he's presently a chief lab scientist and overseeing chemistry, the chemistry department at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. And last, but definitely never ever least, is Mary Clark Miller from Berkeley City College, who is the co-chair of the Multimedia Arts Department.
Hi, everybody. Lunch. So nothing like being the next one up. So virtual production started off as a concept of an idea that why couldn't we articulate our courses with our sister colleges? And from that, we hit on COVID. And just as we were trying to figure out how to persuade people to teach online, because Chris Bernard and I were saying, like, nobody wants to do it. And we had this grant and we went, sugar, what are we going to do? And then along came this, compulsory stay at home. So that actually changed the direction of a lot of our courses. And we were able to put it online. And the CVC were saying, like, yay, go CE. They didn't think about the articulation part. So we actually decided to come up with, I came up with an RJV that sort of said, right, okay, well, I just did this fellowship with Unreal. Coena also did it. And so we went, hey, how do we actually collaborate and work together? And what happened was that we actually managed to pull 6 colleges together to develop up a virtual production collaborative program, which means that no new courses, it was all existing courses, but spread across the 6 colleges. One of the instigators of this was, what do you mean I can't offer that class? I don't have enough FTF. So we used that to sort of push forward this idea where we could actually maybe work together and and develop up new programs based on what we were already offering across these 6 colleges and see what we could come up with. One of the main takeaways from it is that we just finished our how-to manual on how to create collaborative programs. So that was the end result of this particular effort. But if you want to roll the video, because I have no voice. Okay. So we are part of 6 college partnerships, and this is where I should have said go forward. This is our website that we actually developed up just for this virtual production pathway. And on the website, it shows all of the different colleges and the courses that are part of that those certificates. And then what is virtual production? This example is actually Will and Jared. And to sort of set the stage for this, Jared is in Florida and Will was in Berkeley City College, and they produced this together online in 2 different states and brought it together to create this particular piece. So not only have we figured out how to take our courses online, but we've also shown the students how to problem solve and critical think to actually produce short films online across global perspective. They were never in the same room together. I showed this clip to a couple of folks from NVIDIA, and they were going like, what? You did a fight scene and they weren't in the same room? I went, yeah, that's the way we like it. So this second piece is like a BTS, not the Korean group, that talks about the students putting together a piece called Dodo, and they actually came second place in a global competition, and they were outdone by China. But that's okay. They still were very proud of what they achieved. And this is showing clips of them working on the project, working on the internship program that they're part of, that's funded by the California Film Commission. And this has all come about because of what we're doing with the virtual production, because of the work that we're doing with the 6 other colleges, including Laney. And I'll just let them talk because I'm sick.
The technical guy for the project. So all of the technical mumbo jumbo, I was the one dealing with all of that. I was also the virtual camera operator for the project.
I was the director, creative director, and video editor. So I did the storyboarding, set dressing, script writing, some concept art, and the sound design.
I don't let these animals out.
The whole Dodo thing came about from a game I worked on for game scripting class. The idea was that you are a dodo and you are brought back from extinction and you have to wander through the laboratory and try to find your way out. I really enjoy like the visualization aspect of it. So making 3D models or making all the assets. I also really love the animation portion, be it hand animating or using mocap and cleaning that up. But for the most part, it's just this idea of taking something visual and being able to tell a story with it. So I love, setting up a scene and, making all the things that can help
that was
bring
rocket.
that scene to life and bring that story to life.
Definitely the technical side. I've always been a technical guy in Unreal, and getting to play around with all the stuff that I've never played around with.
I'm most interested in learning the tools needed to really tell the story in visually interesting ways. I like storyboarding and figuring out ways to convert the script into something that will make an impression on people. I'd also love to continue to learn what it takes to be a creative director.
A career goal. I would love to, at some point, see my name on an animated feature film. If possible, it'd be great to also try to get into Pixar as either a character animator or just, just regular animator.
Well, in terms of goals and expectations for myself, I keep them fairly light. I just want to be part of a production that, pays me good money. And then at some point, I'm in those credits. I see my name scrolling past the list, then I know I made it.
Career goals include directing feature animated films, music videos, TV spots, anything that really would be fun to art direct for.
It's such a great learning experience. I haven't really done anything fully virtual production that involved using a virtual camera and being able to move it around in a space like that. I've definitely made a few, short films for classes that was just fully done in Unreal, but this was really cool to be able to take the mocap at the same time as, walking around the space. So that was a really cool and super fun experience. And it's getting me excited to, hopefully do more of the virtual production parts of a project in the future.
Any last comments? It was really fun to work on this. I totally want to do more stuff similar.
It was a bit of a challenge for me coming from a 2D background to adapt to 3D workflows, but I feel like through what I've learned at BCC and what I learned doing projects like this one, I feel a little more better prepared for future projects. So I'm looking forward to continuing on my education and eventually finding my way into my desired career path.
So we're seeing a blend of the animation, game, and video students all coming together to produce new work. and utilizing the tool sets that we're actually teaching them in the classroom. With the advisory committee that we have, it's a regional advisory committee. We now have companies starting to call us to say, here's the internship positions, here's the special code for your students to use, because they will be highlighted because they're part of this regional effort. So everything together is like, let's see more collaboration. And my time at the district curriculum committee really encourages everybody to think about collaborative projects. Okay.
Yes, a warm round of applause for all of our exceptional CE faculty. And Marla, we don't have time for Q&A, right?
Yeah, we don't have time for Q&A. Please let's give them all a hand and Eleni a hand. Woo, woo. I think it's just really important that we can highlight some of our cool CE programs we got going on, because we don't even know all the stuff that goes on in all of our 4 colleges, and it's super inspiring. So thank you all, and thank you all for being here. Lunch is now served or getting ready to be served over in the cafeteria, so please head on over there. Thank you, Eleni, for being our hostess with the mostest. We'll see you at lunch.